Minutes before the red-on-air light snapped to attention inside the Ed Sullivan Theatre, a thin line of tension had already tightened around the evening's star guest. Prince Harry, familiar with the choreography of late-night promotion, arrived. Earlier than scheduled, stepped into the subdued glow of the green room corridor and asked in a low voice whether there might be a moment to greet fellow guest Kate Winslet. The request sounded casual, almost offhand, yet the production assistant, who carried it across the hall, sensed it mattered more than etiquette. The response, brief, polite, immovable, came back in less than a minute. Ms. Winslet wouldn't be available. No reason supplied, no suggestion of catching up later, not even the customary, "Send my regards." One sentence. One refusal. Enough to alter the evening's gravitational field. Harry tried to shrug it off. A public life teaches practiced indifference, and he wore that mask as he settled into the host's side chair, trading crisp pleasantries with the floor manager. Yet when the band struck its opening chord, a faint rigidity still framed his shoulders. Cameras rolled, applause thundered, and the prince presented the relaxed grin viewers have come to recognize from his post-palace chapter. The grin that signals a man intent on showing the world how common experience fits a once uncommon life. Jokes about sun cream, avocado toast, rugby leagues translated into American football. Harry volleyed them back with easy charm. The audience warmed, Colbert leaned in, and for 10 minutes it seemed the show would coast in pleasant second gear. Backstage, Kate Winslet stepped into the wings, greeting staff with the same unhurried poise that marks her press junkets. She had heard the earlier request for a private hello and declined without consulting advisors. To some observers, this looked brusque. To her, it was simply consistent. Winslet has long argued, mostly off record, that professional settings rarely benefit from pre-interviews among guests, especially when those guests arrive trailed by unresolved public narratives. Tonight, the unresolved narrative at her co-guest's heels was as large as the Windsor crest itself. When Colbert introduced her, applause erupted. The host, quick to meld pop culture shorthand with royal mystique, offered a smiling bridge between his two couch occupants. "Titanic royalty meets actual royalty," he quipped, expecting perhaps a modest laugh, a shared nod, a smooth pivot into craft talk. Instead, Winslet met the audience's cheer with a contained smile, faced forward, and answered in measured cadence. "I think we're all equals here, aren't we?" It was neither dig nor joke. It was a declarative statement, so even in tone that it rang louder than any punchline. Laughter throttled itself into scattered chuckles. Applause trailed into curious silence, and every lens in the house searched Harry's face for the reaction shot. The prince's eyes narrowed by a fraction, so quick a shift that home viewers later paused and rewound to confirm it. Whatever jovial momentum had stood on stage a moment earlier vanished, replaced by an invisible metronome beating a slower, less comfortable tempo. Colbert, veteran of unscripted sidesteps, launched into a question about Winslet's latest climate-themed drama. She spoke with eloquent urgency about melting ice shelves and the moral weight of motherhood in a warming century. Harry nodded once, then twice, his responses precise yet clipped, as though part of his attention floated elsewhere. The segment held its shape through scheduled laughs and promotional sound bites, but energy dipped each time the camera found him. Audience members would later describe a sense of static, like the crackle before a summer storm rolls over Manhattan. Viewers at home felt it too. Social media feeds filled in real time with posts asking what, exactly, had just shifted in the room. During the first commercial break, the host's desk lights dimmed, applause signage cooled, and stagehands rushed forward with water glasses. That was when witnesses say the prince leaned toward Winslet, voice low, smile gone. Only the boom mic operator closest to the couch caught fragments, enough to piece together a quiet query about intent. Winslet's reply was firmer than her. Polite green room refusal, sources claim, but not unkind. Equality, she repeated, is not a slight, it's a principle. Cameras idled, red lights off, yet the exchange radiated outward. Production crew stilled, grips paused mid-cable. The crowd, sensing unscripted drama, hushed its buzz of between-segment chatter. By the time Colbert returned to his mark, both guests had refastened public smiles. The storm, however, had not passed. The second half of Harry's interview began with a light-hearted prop segment, a blind taste test of American diner pies, chosen to tease the prince's admitted weakness for British custards. In rehearsal, the bit had played effortlessly. Live, Harry barely nibbled. He complimented the bakers, thanked the audience, yet each sentence shortened, each laugh lost a notch of natural ease. Colbert maintained the format, but one could see him calculating alternatives, scanning teleprompter lines he might jettison if the mood failed to lift. Winslet, for her part, sipped water, eyes trained upon the host, occasionally glancing across at the prince with a gaze impossible to decipher. Sympathy, conviction, or simple professional vigilance. As the final break loomed, Harry leaned back, adjusted his jacket, and spoke a line that arrived brighter than anything preceding it. "It's been, illuminating to be here." He smiled, stood, still on camera, and took 2 steps toward the wings. Colbert, startled, raised a hand as if to call him back, but the prince was already beyond the last stage monitor. The band, mistaking the move for a pre-planned offbeat exit, struck a riff of brass. Floor directors waved frantically, cutting to a wide shot of the cheering audience to mask the confusion. Only a handful of beats passed before Colbert recovered, pivoting to Winslet's upcoming film with a quip about nautical disasters and safer studio couches. Laughter returned on cue, but the evening's center of gravity had departed through a side door and out into West 54th Street's chilly dusk. Standard protocol for late-night tapings dictates a backstage cool-down. Guests thank producers, sign to be auctioned cue cards, pose for cell phone selfies with the stage manager's niece. Harry skipped each step. He nodded once to security, descended the back stairwell, slid into an unmarked SUV, and disappeared north into traffic before the house band's closing chord could fade. Within 10 minutes, the show's hashtag swarmed across platforms. Within 30, looped clips of Winslet's equality remark peppered timelines from Sydney to Sao Paulo. By midnight, Harry Walkoff trended in 34 countries. Amateur lip readers claimed expertise in deciphering the off-air exchange. Body language analysts posted frame-by-frame breakdowns of micro-expressions, and public relations experts queued for live hit commentary slots on 24-hour news channels. Inside network headquarters, frantic conference calls bounced between legal, communications, and social media divisions. What forms of phrasing could describe the departure without risking defamation? Would the prince's team issue a correction, an apology, or a clarifying statement? By sunrise, none had materialized. Instead, a single line from an Archewell spokesperson appeared in inboxes. "Prince Harry values open conversation and looks forward to many more." The sentence said both everything and nothing. A diplomatic comma hung in place of verdict. Meanwhile, Winslet's representatives released no comment at all. She boarded a red-eye to London for a charity gala, thanking flight attendants with her usual courtesy, signing autographs for 2 crew members, then disappearing behind a sleep mask. Passengers who recognized her kept their distance, but one snapped a grainy image that quickly sold to a tabloid. The actress reclined, headphone wire trailing, expression serene, a tableau that online commentators nicknamed "unbothered at." 40,000 feet. Industry insiders spent the next news cycle parsing winners and losers. Some argued Harry's abrupt departure reinforced a narrative of brittleness, proof the prince still expects deference his new world won't supply. Others insisted his exit preserved dignity, sidestepping what could have devolved into a televised confrontation. Winslet drew both praise and critique, applauded for egalitarian candor, chided for public discourtesy. Colbert, ever canny, emerged largely unscathed. Overnight ratings notched higher than any episode in 6 months. Yet beyond broadcast metrics, something quieter and larger revealed itself. A cultural recalibration of hierarchy, before millions of eyes. Generations ago, a royal's presence might have commanded not just curiosity, but unambiguous reverence. Tonight, an actress, raised far from palaces, shaped by a merit-based art, voiced aloud what many modern audiences already practice. Celebrity clout rests on craft and contribution, not ancestry. The studio's sudden hush captured the moment. Society's reflexive genuflection caught on the edge of a changing tide. Back in Montecito, dawn light slipped across coastal ridges as Harry returned to a home purposely distant from palace gates. Sources close to his circle describe a restless night. Phone alight with group chat pings from friends split between concern and commiseration. One former military comrade reminded him, half joking, that the best flak jackets are forged from self-knowledge. Another texted a meme of a corgi wearing a headset. "Keep calm and log off." He answered sparingly, then stepped outside to watch Pacific breakers bruise the sand. An ocean view once unimaginable inside Windsor's stone horizons. If he felt bruised himself, he did not show it during the afternoon's previously scheduled Zoom with a veteran's mental health initiative. By all accounts, he appeared focused, engaged, quick to laugh. When a retired sergeant apologized for asking about television headlines, Harry waved the concern away. "Life's too unpredictable to script," he said, voice clear through the speaker grid. "What matters is what we learn next." The call concluded with plans for an in-person retreat. Screens blinked dark. Another day of reinvention began. In London, a different reinvention played out. Winslet strode across the charity gala's arrival line, wearing a recycled black gown and no diamonds, her only adornment a small pin for children's literacy. Reporters angled microphones toward her, questions tumbling over each other. Did she regret last night's remark? Had she spoken to the prince? Did she anticipate backlash? She offered concise answers about fundraising goals, theatrical workshops for underserved schools, the joy of live performance. On the single question of hierarchy, she paused, smiled softly, and answered, "The world is full of extraordinary stories. Let's try to hear them on equal footing." Then she moved on, leaving sound bites for editors to splice into primetime packages already underway. Streaming platforms, sensing opportunity, stitched compilations of historic royal celebrity collisions, Grace Kelly's Monaco ascendance, John Travolta's White House waltz with Diana, Beyoncé's curtsyless greeting to Meghan and Harry at a film premiere. Each clip prompted debate threads about manners, modernity, inherited privilege, and the elasticity of respect. On one level, the conversation looked like gossip. On another, it mapped a broader shift in social architecture, a renegotiation of who earns attention, who commands room energy, and why. Executives at entertainment agencies took note. In pitch meetings the following week, references to Winslet's line surfaced as shorthand for unscripted authenticity. Producers wanted guests who might deliver a moment that jolted viewers beyond routine chatter. Publicists, conversely, revised prep sheets for clients booked on late-night sofas, anticipate hierarchy jokes, craft neutral replies, rehearse graceful disengagements. The machinery of image moved swiftly, lubricated by one 15-word sentence and an unexpected empty chair. Inside Buckingham Palace, the story landed with heavier symbolism. Courtiers circulated transcripts, flagging potential reputational risks. One senior aide reportedly observed that the royal family had weathered sharper barbs. Another countered that every new sting aggravates old wounds in an era of digital permanence. Official comment remained unlikely. Distance has become the monarchy's preferred tool. But behind closed doors, the episode intensified ongoing discussions about relevance, adaptation, and the delicate art of appearing regal in a world impatient with inherited grandeur. For Harry, the question of relevance carries personal stakes. His Netflix-backed docuseries on humanitarian resilience is deep into post-production, but trending. Metrics now warn marketers of audience fatigue. Sponsors ask whether another confessional angle will reignite interest or merely re-lather tabloids. Advisors urge balance, less reflection on family estrangement, more tangible activism. The prince listens, scribbles notes, and circles the words sustainable impact in a margin, an anchor phrase for the brand he is still forging in real time. Observers wonder how the Late Show walk-off might ripple through those plans. Some argue it underscores authenticity, proof of a man unwilling to sit through perceived slights. Others caution it risks alienating collaborators who prize stamina over sensitivity. Hollywood, after all, rarely waits for anyone's equilibrium to settle. Green lights hinge on bankable composure. Whether Harry's next public appearance reasserts that composure, or tests it again, will determine much about his staying power in an industry where attention is currency and memory is short. Winslet, meanwhile, resumes shooting her limited series adaptation of a feminist classic. Colleagues describe atmosphere on set as calm. If headlines circulate beyond the craft service's espresso machine, they leave no visible dent. The actress's methodology, deep immersion, minimal distraction, insulates production from gossip's noise. Yet one line of dialogue she films that week draws knowing smiles among crew. Dignity, in the end, is simply the courage to behave no greater and no less than those you stand beside. The take is printed, the director calls cut, and cameras roll on. Somewhere between those parallel lives, Ocean View in California, Soundstage in North London, the public narrative swells, ebbs, and swells again. Commentators ask whether the world has tired of monarchy drama or if it still hungers for every tremor. They note how quickly an ordinary green room refusal escalated into a global referendum on status, and how a single walk-off eclipsed 3 other guests and 2 musical numbers that shared the same broadcast. They marvel at the velocity of viral moments, the blur between theater and truth, the ease with which a casual turn of phrase can buckle centuries-old deference. No formal reconciliation has been announced. Perhaps none is needed. Yet those who track subtle shifts in cultural weather watch closely. They watch for the next panel discussion, where royalty meets with artistry and someone tests the tensile strength of courtesy. They watch for the next solitary figure to rise from a sofa, cross the stage, and choose, in one irreversible step, between enduring the discomfort of a public arena or reclaiming the unpredictable quiet beyond its glare.